Hello, my little rain clouds. I've been thinking a lot lately about the word should. I'm not really a fan of should. I think that we misuse should, and we overuse should as well. But I think a lot of the time when we say the word should, we probably could be using something else. See, should is often about obligation, duty, expectation, pressure. It's about what we're supposed to do, what we or someone else thinks that it is appropriate for us to do. And the thing about that is that we tend to put pressure on someone if we say that they should do something. Because with that pressure, with that expectation, that obligation, comes a negative consequence. If they don't do what they should do, then typically they fall short in our eyes. So we're disappointed in them. We judge them negatively. And also they may judge themselves negatively. They may feel bad about themselves, guilty, may feel insecure, judged, that they're a disappointment, that their self-worth has been impacted because they haven't done what they should do. And there are some shoulds that are appropriate. I think there are some shoulds that, they can be helpful. You should obey the laws. You should indicate when you're turning in a car. You should brush your teeth. But I think a lot of the time, we don't really need the word should. I've noticed a tendency in a lot of people to use the word should in ways that I really don't think are appropriate. And yet it's just this kind of subconscious thing that we just naturally tend towards using the word should. Like friends saying, we should hang out together. Like, should we? Do we need to put an expectation there? Or can we just say, I'd like to hang out? Because if you say we should hang out, then that sets a failure condition. That sets a consequence for not doing it, where people can feel bad. If you'd like to hang out, but you place a should on it, and then for whatever reason you can't or don't hang out, then people start to feel bad. And people don't tend to like feeling bad, so they tend to avoid the thing that makes them feel bad. And so people can potentially avoid, talking to those friends for quite a while because they should have hung out and they didn't, and now they feel bad. And that's not really an appropriate social expectation, I don't think. Yeah, it serves a purpose of trying to motivate people to gather together again, but it's a nice thing, typically, at least. I think that hopefully most people could say that they want to hang out rather than they should hang out. Certainly there are some relationships or groups that you maybe don't feel that way, and instead you may feel like, yes, I should spend time with my family. But hopefully, in general, you can say, yeah, actually, I want to hang out with you. I'd like to. Because I think that's going to make people feel a lot better. If someone says we should hang out, then you might think, yeah, that would be nice. But it puts this pressure, this expectation on you. Whereas if you say, I'd like to hang out with you, it doesn't have that pressure. It doesn't have a failure state, a condition, a consequence. Instead, you're just expressing a desire. And you're making the other person feel good because you're saying, hey, I like spending time with you and I'd like to do more of it, which is nice. So it makes them feel good and it doesn't put pressure on people. And whilst sometimes pressure can be a positive thing, it can motivate people, I think typically we don't find it that motivating. In the short term, in an immediate sense, pressure can be helpful. But if it's something further away, something far off, or something hypothetical in the future, then I think it doesn't tend to motivate us that well. It's an interesting kind of situation that we find ourselves in, where we put shoulds on ourselves to do things that we actually want to do, that we feel motivated to do, that we'd like to do. And then once we put a should on it, then we feel like, oh, actually, I don't want to do that thing anymore. There's pressure there now. There's expectation. There's consequences. There's failure. There's shame and guilt. That's not fun. And it can kind of give you performance anxiety. If you just approached it in a casual way, and I want to, then you'd probably do it. And you'd probably do it fine. You'd probably have a good experience with it. But the instant there's pressure and expectation and failure and shame and guilt, then it's a chore. It's not fun anymore. It's a scary, intimidating thing. I find that with recording. I'll have an idea for an audio and I'll feel very motivated about it. And I want to do it. But then if I put a should onto it, if I say I should record something, then I don't feel good. And I probably end up not recording. Or if I do record, it's probably not as good as when I just say, you know what, I want to record. I feel like recording. If I just take something that I want to do and do it, it's great. If I put a should on it, probably not. And I think that's an important thing to try and do. To replace shoulds with I want to, or I would like to, wherever possible. That's something that I'm trying to do. And typically it doesn't involve doing different things, but just doing the same things in a different way. Just average, everyday things, but trying to pinpoint that motivating factor, the I want to, that drives it. And I find I'm much more motivated by an I want to than an I should. I shoulds, they tend to send me running in the opposite direction. I don't like that mantle of should being placed on me. But I want to? Yeah, that's great. I find myself really motivated by I want to's. And I find that I'll resist the shoulds from other people too. If someone tells me that I should make a certain kind of audio, it doesn't motivate me at all. I tend to resent that. But if someone says, hey, I'd really like if you made this kind of thing, would you please make this? Or would you consider making this? Then I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe. But if someone tells me that I should, it doesn't motivate me. I already place far too many shoulds on myself already, and I don't need anyone else placing shoulds on me either. And I don't think that you do. I think that we put far too many shoulds on ourselves far too often, and it tends to cripple us. We tend to feel a lot of guilt and shame. We tend to feel a lot of judgment and a fear of disappointing others when we don't need to. So I recommend trying to notice whenever you say the word should, particularly when you say I should. But it's also important to recognize when you're placing shoulds on other people, because that's not cool. That makes them feel bad. And I don't want to do that. I'm not going to tell you that you shouldn't do that. But maybe that's something that you don't want to do either. But try and notice when you say, I should. I should go to bed. I should do my homework. I should eat healthy, I should go for a run. Whenever you say I should, try and trace that should back to why it is that you should do that. Typically the shoulds come from an it would be good if I did this because. And so become a little bit of a detective. Trace it back and figure out what it is that makes something you should do. You should go to bed because you need your rest for tomorrow. You don't want to be tired. You want to have the energy to do the things that you need to do. And so instead of saying I should go to bed, you can then say, you know what? I want to have energy tomorrow. I want to be able to do the things that I want to do. And as such, I want to go to bed. I want to eat healthy and go for a run because I want to improve my health, my well-being. I want to feel good and feel good about myself. And so eating well and exercising will make me feel that way. Doing this will help me to reach my goals. It'll help me to get where I want to be. And that's a really important thing to recognize. And that's something that will motivate you. I think shoulds are kind of like walls. They sort of delineate where to go and where not to go. And when combined with a goal, with a destination, that can be really helpful. Like a tunnel that gets you to where you want to be. But if you don't see the goal, if you lose sight of what that goal is, that destination, then you just feel kind of trapped by shoulds, by walls. You're walled in, this prison, a prison you might have made for yourself or someone else might have made for you by putting that should on you. And so I think it's really important to remind yourself of where it is that you want to be going, and that will motivate you in order to take that journey, in order to get where it is that you want to go. Often the shoulds aren't really enough to motivate us. When combined with the I want to, yeah, that can be helpful. But just by itself, a should is a prison. And so we often get trapped there. We place shoulds upon ourselves, or someone else places it on us, or even just we think someone is placing a should upon us. And then we feel trapped there. We know that there's something we're meant to do, and that there will be a consequence for not doing it. But there isn't really anything driving us to do that thing other than the distant, nebulous, hypothetical, negative consequence of not doing what we should do. We should do our assignment. In 4 weeks' time, it's going to be due, and if we don't do it, we'll fail. Well, that's guidance as to what would be good to do, but it doesn't really motivate us until that deadline, that negative consequence, is really close. If it's an imminent threat, an imminent danger, a consequence that's going to happen really, really soon, then that will motivate us, which is probably something you've found if you're anything like me and you procrastinate sometimes. We tend to place a should upon ourselves, and then because that should isn't really an urgent, immediate thing, we just kind of push it to the side and go, nah, I don't want to face that at the moment. I don't want to face the potential for failure, the potential risks, the negative consequences, the fear of disappointing someone. I don't want to face that right now, so I'll just do something more pleasant. And so we ignore it. We avoid it. And then we tend to feel kind of bad about ourselves because we know that we should do something and we're not doing it. So we feel guilt, maybe some shame. We feel bad for not only not doing the thing, but also for procrastinating. We're not meeting our expectations, and that doesn't feel good. And so we have two choices. Either we can confront that and do the thing that we don't really want to do, which will eventually make those feelings subside. We can eventually take off that should, the guilt and shame that come with it. But that's not really an immediate thing. It's going to be a while. This assignment, it's going to take like at least a week to do, right? So I'm still going to be feeling crappy. I don't want to do that. So I'll just take the other option and I'll keep avoiding it. I'll distract myself. I'll procrastinate and do something else that temporarily makes me feel better. And so we do that. Except eventually those feelings of shame and guilt come back because we haven't actually changed anything. And so we tend to feel even worse. And so, again, we procrastinate. And so the cycle continues and continues and continues until it gets to the point where the consequences for not doing it are immediate. The deadline is here. If you don't do this assignment, or whatever it is, then bad things will happen. And now those consequences are motivating. The threat is real. The danger is there. And so that overrides the desire to procrastinate. We go, oh, okay, I can't procrastinate anymore because that's not going to solve my problems. It's not about just temporarily feeling better. I need to take care of this right now, or else not only will I feel bad, but also the consequences for failure will happen. So we do it at the last minute. And we probably scrape by the skin of our teeth. We get it done. And then it goes all right. It's maybe not great, but we pass. And so that kind of confirms to us, hey, procrastination is a valid strategy. It actually all kind of worked out. We can do that again. And so we get reinforced that, yeah, actually we can procrastinate. And then we might restructure the narrative and kind of lie to ourselves and say, well, I do my best work under pressure, or that's the only way I can get work done, which is not true. But it's something we tell ourselves to kind of justify that procrastination cycle. But it doesn't work. It's a pretty terrible strategy, which I know from experience. I'm trying to get better at it. And one of the ways is not placing shoulds upon myself. Thinking about, why do I want to do this assignment? Why do I want to do something? Thinking about, what is it actually going to get me? What is it for? And if you're studying, then you might have some learning outcomes that you can look at in your unit outline, and you can say, oh yeah, I'll learn all of these things. I'll be able to do these things, demonstrate these qualities. I'll be able to gain some kind of benefit by doing it. You may need to get creative sometimes in selling it to yourself, but you can identify reasons why you actually want to do this thing. Not should, but want to. I want to learn what I need to know in order to be competent and capable, to be able to have the kind of job I want, in order to be able to help people. I want to be able to demonstrate my academic ability and my intelligence, and to practice the kind of things that I will need for my future. So I want to do my assignment. That kind of thing tends to help me. It doesn't always help, but sometimes it does. Of course, that's likely different for you and whatever it is that you should do, but it's important to try and trace back those I want to's. Try and figure out what it is that you're going to get by doing this thing. And if you really can't identify anything about this that you want, then maybe it's good to ask yourself, what am I doing this for? Why am I doing this? Why is it that I feel like I should do this if there's really no benefit to it? And there are some things that, yeah, maybe you need to do. Even though you really can't see a benefit right now, maybe they will be important in the future. But I think the vast majority of things you probably can figure out, there are benefits to doing this. I want to do this because of that. And that might help to motivate you, to stop procrastination, to stop you putting on the hot, itchy, uncomfortable, unfashionable coat of should. Because when you're wearing that coat, the only thing that you're going to want to do is shrug it off, wriggle out of that coat of should, of shame and guilt, even if it's just temporary relief and you're going to have to put it back on again soon. It's just the only thing that you're going to want to do. That's preferable. We tend to prioritize our immediate feelings, our immediate benefit. We say this with kids all the time. If you give a kid a marshmallow and then you say, hey, if you don't eat this in 10 minutes, I'm going to come back and give you 10 marshmallows. The kid will eat the marshmallow, 100%. They can't not do it. They will prioritize their immediate benefit. As we get older, we can develop the ability to think ahead and to value hypothetical rewards, future rewards, to predict and try and avoid future consequences. But it's tough. It's really not as motivating as the immediate short-term stuff that you're experiencing right now. So when that itchy, uncomfortable coat of should is on you, you're just going to want to take it off. You're not going to want to do the thing that you should do in order to remove it permanently. Especially as someone else is probably going to come along and put another coat on you. So I think it's important to try and take that coat out of your wardrobe. No more shoulds. And instead, just try and say, I want to. Try and identify why it is that you want to do this thing. And hopefully, you'll feel a lot more motivated and a lot better about yourself. It's not going to happen overnight. It's something that you will continue to do for quite a while, and you probably won't notice yourself doing it a lot of the time. But it's a skill you can learn to be more mindful of the words that you use, the things that you say, the way that you think about things. Hopefully you can start to notice the shoulds and then replace them. Say, no, actually, I want to. And eventually, you might just stop using should, at least for the most part. And I think your life will be a lot better for it. I hope so, at least. Thanks for listening. Until next time. Bye-bye.